All right, Chef, for the home cook, what kind of cutting boards would you recommend? We've got wood, we've got plastic, we've got glass. What are your thoughts?
I would personally recommend wood, due to the fact that there are a lot of cutting boards that are made out of different plastics. So when your knife is really sharp and you're cutting into these cutting boards and you see these little cut marks, you're asking yourself, oh, am I scraping? Am I properly, using my surface as I should? But at that point, you should be asking yourself where that plastic is going. So that's why I personally always recommend wood cutting boards, because depending on the actual material and plastic they're actually using, it can pretty much end up in your food. So that's why for me, I would recommend investing into a nice wood cutting board. And here in altitude, you have to make sure that sometimes you pretty much oil or, give that moisture to the cutting board you need. Otherwise, with it being so dry, it could crack your cutting board and you could spend a lot of money on something that's beautiful, but at the same time mishandled because we never took the time to properly, oil our cutting boards up, or just invest a little bit more into a cutting board that's going to be a little bit more reliable and a little bit more efficient.
Okay, Chef, what are some of your other favorite tools that you have on you on a day-to-day basis?
Honestly, these are two of my favorite little tools on a daily basis. So I have my little 3-inch tweezers, 3 to 4 inch tweezers, and I have a cake tester. And these are tiny but mighty, due to the fact that these I can handle taste on a daily basis, and it's just kind of getting used to that habit. And cake testers are very well because we use these on an everyday operation. For example, if I was going to temp a steak without a thermometer, I can literally just stick this and find the internal temperature of the actual protein, and it's already giving me a direction. I'm like, okay, maybe I should cook it for another 2 to 3 minutes, then rest it. So that's why these little things come very in handy, and it just conducts heat very well. So you're finding your cold spots and your hot spots. So this is another tool of mine that I use on a daily basis that's great for the most part. And then here, one of my other favorite tools is a small offset spatula. So pretty much this allows me to get a little bit more intimate and a little bit more in details with certain small aspects like scallops or fondant potatoes, or if I'm going to plate and I need something to kind of help me and guide me, so I can always pick this up, set it on a plate, voila. So these things, everyone has their own variations and their own tools that they use on a daily basis, but for me, this is one tool that I use probably 70% of the majority of the day. I'm using my offset spatula. And of course, we tend to have nice spoons just for plating, sometimes for sauce work. So it really depends on the station and on your everyday operation. Always got to have a fresh microplane, making sure that everything that we call them teeth, that your teeth are actually properly sharpened, because by the time you're zesting, you can either zest too far into the actual flesh or not enough into the actual flesh. So you want to make sure that you're lightly tapping and making sure that we're evenly distributing what we're zesting with. So these are daily tools that I feel like are very important for an everyday chef or an everyday cook in the kitchens. Rubber spatulas come in handy from when you want to puree or grab a sauce from a blender. We as chefs like to make sure that we're yielding all of our we're just yielding all of our proteins or yielding all of our sauces to the best that we can. So spatulas come a long way. When you're just scraping Vitamixes or any type of bowl, you're yielding your product to the best of your ability at that time. And of course, you gotta have industrial scissors. Industrial scissors are very important. I can damn near crack lobster claws with this. I can cut pretty much through actual bones, fish bones, or if I'm decarcassing a bone or something, or chicken or duck. These are all tools that come very in handy.
So you would probably say your tools are like an extension of your body for your job.
Absolutely. And I always joke around with the cooks too and tell them, it's like, would a carpenter go to work or go to the site without his tool, without his, belt full of tools? Or it's just like any, would a cop go, would he start his everyday operation without his badge, without his gun? These are all tools that we have to slightly get ourselves used to in this industry, because you never know when you're actually going to use it. So yeah, I think tools are a very important aspect of what we do here on a daily basis, and yeah, very important to just know your operation and know what tools benefit you in the long run. So
would it be an odd sensation to use a different chef's set of tools?
And it's interesting because it's like we're all so used to our certain sets of tools. So when you're adjusting to a new set of tools or using someone else, it does kind of, you're like, yeah. And at the same time, everyone else has had like, everyone has they're like, how do I say it? Like their tools are for them. You know, everyone has like my knives. I couldn't just give my knife to someone else. I mean, it's super sharp or whatnot, but sometimes my handle could be different from a Western handle or how they properly use it. So really, it's kind of like, it depends on the cook and on the chef personally. But yes, 100%, I think your tools are a very important part of your daily operation, and honestly, a very important part of who you are as a chef throughout the years of just developing. It took me years to properly get the right spoons, the right knives, the right steels, and this is more of a ceramic steel. So having a ceramic steel from a German steel or having a diamond steel, they're all, you know, different variations, but I know what works for me and I know what works for my tools. So.
All right, Chef, last question. Where did you learn all of your knife skills? Did you go to a formal culinary school? How did you get here?
So so I went to MATC. It's a Milwaukee Technical College back in Wisconsin. So yes, culinary school teaches you a lot about your basic cuts and your basic knives, but in reality, I feel like it's being more like your knife skills will always progress by being in an everyday daily operation, and that's how your knife skills progress. Like being able to have a chef mentor me and properly guide and demo, because you know, culinary school, they will definitely teach you what you need to learn, but a kitchen will teach you to use these skill sets in motion. So that's a very important aspect of things. Like it's one thing to learn how to properly, you know, cut something to a certain extent, but at the same time you have to understand, kind of, you know, how do I say it? Know your speed, know your limits, but at the same time, education is everywhere. Like yes, you know, culinary school is one thing, but you don't need culinary schools to refine your knife cuts. I mean, it's 100%, you know, I would always recommend it, but at the end of the day, it's really kind of that hands-on. I feel like always being more hands-on and just putting yourself in a situation where you're always, you know, you're finessing your knife cuts, I think is very important. So really, it's like a, you know, it's what perspective you feel is, you know, is important and one that you feel is necessary. But yeah, 100%. I feel like it's just like going to school, or just kind of like, it's like a toddler learning how to walk for the first time. So you always have to kind of, you know, we all have our own emotions and we all have our way of learning. But I feel like education really should always, you know, shouldn't really change for a set of individuals. It's really how far you want to educate you and how far you want to progress your knife skills. So I would say both are very important. And for the home cook, just being able to go home cook and practice some of these knife sets, whether it's mincing chives or chiffonading basil, julienning shallots, or, you know, brunoising shallots. There's different variations, and nowadays you have the internet and social media, so you can go on YouTube, you can go on TikTok, you can go pretty much on any of these social media platforms, and they will properly also educate you on more of a hands-on, hey, this is how you should hold your knife, this is how you, kind of like what we're doing here. So at the end of the day, it's, you know, there's benefits for everything, and I definitely do recommend, you know, if you have the ability to or want to go to culinary school, you know, just pay attention and your knife skills will refine as you go, as your career progresses. So
I lied. Last question. What do you love most about being a chef?
Oh, man, every day you step into this building or you step into any kitchen and you're thrown, you know, you have to overcome these obstacles, and I feel like that's the thrill of being able to come into a building every day and challenge yourself and really just stay true and passionate to what you do. So sometimes you're going to have to hold yourself to high expectations, and I feel like that's what this industry does for me. And also the connections and the relationships that you meet and the people that you meet throughout your culinary career, and just being able to brighten someone else's day by just creating this beautiful dish that really reminds them of maybe grandma and mom's cooking. So for me, it's the passion, the grind, the, you know, the personalities, the everyday grind. It's not easy, but at the end of the day, there's nothing more that I'd rather do than sit here and do what I love to do. And being a chef is definitely what I chose. So honestly, there's nothing more that I'd rather do. So that's why I do what I do.
Well, thank you.